Connie and I are members of the WCTU. Hello, Connie.
Hello, Joy.
Women's Christian Temperance Union. And we want to discuss some of the reasons why people drink alcohol. They say it makes them feel good. They say it helps them to forget about their problems. And some think it's actually good for their health. So now, what do you have to say about that, Connie?
Well, the truth is, Joy, that it's a powerful addictive drug and alcohol kills. Alcohol actually kills 2 to 3 million people around the world every year.
That is a lot.
It kills by accidents and by destroying people's health.
I wonder if there's more people now. Let me share just a few facts about alcohol, and that might help us to understand why it destroys our health and kills. Alcohol enters the bloodstream from the stomach, and just how fast this happens depends on how much alcohol is in the drink. If there's a lot of alcohol, it goes faster into the blood, which circulates throughout the body and into the tissues and cells where it does its awful work. Now, an important topic that we discuss in WCTU, Connie, you know about this, is fetal alcohol syndrome. And this brochure we've seen before, and it says, for baby's sake, don't drink. It's actually think first, don't drink. The fetus in the womb of the mother is affected by alcohol consumed. And at various stages of development, the alcohol can have destructive effects on that formation of the beautiful baby that's in
And
there.
early on, isn't it, Joy?
It can be early, it can be
In the first-
at different times, actually.
Okay.
If you read the research on this, it talks about different phases, various stages. And so many babies are born with FAS, fetal alcohol syndrome. And this happens all over the world. It affects the child's development, and you can recognise it in the facial features if you know what you're looking for. Those experts on this can tell. There are some terrible pictures I've seen, Connie, of children.
Have you got some in the brochures, Joy?
I don't know that we have. Do we have pictures in
Yes,
there?
I think there is one
Oh,
there.
yes, there's a couple.
So,
Yes, there's one little boy there, and we saw some terrible pictures last week in an event I went to. You couldn't even recognise that it was a human being, actually, and it was because of alcohol.
yes.
It disfigures the children, as we said. The learning ability is greatly hampered. Behaviour is quite destructive in some children, and there is no cure.
No.
But this is totally preventable. Prevention is the key.
Yes.
So if we say no alcohol, say no to alcohol during pregnancy, there won't be these problems. For more information about this, I suggest you go to the website and look at one site called NOFAS, NOFAS. That's the National Organisation on Fetal Alcohol Syndrome. There's a lot there to read, and about what people are doing for those who do have this problem.
Okay.
Very helpful.
That's good.
So WCTU has some information, and we can help, but just go and look on the website, find some really good information. But please say no to all alcohol during pregnancy. And I just urge that to all young women, young mothers.
Joy, I want to mention a little bit about the brain and what alcohol does to it. Alcohol interferes with the function of the brain cells and eventually destroys them. Especially affected are the frontal lobes of the brain, just behind this forehead bone. This frontal lobe helps us make good judgment and maintain our self-control. It enables learning and memory. It is the seat of our conscience, our decision-making, and our choices. It's also regarded as our spiritual centre. But alcohol interferes with all of this. Alcohol can cause major brain damage as well.
Well, really, I'd say, it sounds like to me, and I believe this, alcohol's a curse. Would you agree with that, Connie?
Yes, definitely.
And there are many other physical problems besides those you've mentioned associated with the consumption of it. I'm just going to read some of those to you. It can cause stomach and intestinal ulcers. The heart, muscles and blood vessels can be seriously damaged. The sperm production is decreased. That might interest some of you who want to make babies. Too much alcohol leads to poor nutrition, and accidents is an enormous one. All kinds of road accidents, including road accidents.
We hear about them on the news every night, don't we, Joy?
All the time.
Yep.
And because of, I read some terrible accidents last week for children. Whole families wiped out because of a drunken driver. That's tragic. Domestic violence is exacerbated because of alcohol use. That's enormous in our societies everywhere.
It's very current at the moment,
Well,
isn't
in
it?
some currents much worse than some countries much worse than others.
Yes.
It's addictive and leads to many problems. Many young people, first of all, start smoking. They'll try some alcohol. They'll try more, become addicted, and it leads to terrible problems with drugs.
Oh, right.
So many problems associated with the consumption of alcohol.
And did you know, Joy, too,
yes.
it also affects our skin.
Really, and the way we look.
And the way we look.
Yeah, whether we're beautiful or not.
That's right.
Tell
and
me.
so if you want to look good for a longer time, don't drink alcohol. Now, how did I find this out? I'll tell you. This is a little story that I want to share with you.
Yes.
When I was studying biology, one of the ways we put cells on a slide was to cut into them and then put them on the slide and then dip them in alcohol. So I asked my biology teacher, why do we do that? Why do we dip them in alcohol? And he said, because every cell in the body or other cells are loaded with water. In fact, our bodies are 70% water. So when we dip that cell in alcohol, it dries up the water from our cells. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, so this really puts you off.
Well, I thought about it and I thought, well, that's going to dry up all the cells in my skin and I don't want to look bad. No. So I never touched it. I never touched it after that, and I think I must have been 22.
Wow. Well, and look how beautiful she is now. Thank you, Connie. So we are saying no to alcohol, aren't we?
Yes, definitely.
And indeed no to all the DAC poisons, drugs, alcohol and tobacco.
Yes.
We just
say no. But just before we finish, Joy, there are alternatives. People say to me,
oh, yes.
Well, if I can't drink, what do? I need to drink other things. Of course, at parties, we all like to have a drink, don't we, Joy? Something, anyway. So I'll just show you some of these things that I found. These are lovely non-alcoholic drinks, beautifully bottled, and they taste really nice too. Now, this is a Zion brand, and you
That's
can
quite
get
a new one. I actually tried that recently.
Have you?
It was beautiful.
All right.
Beautiful.
Yes, and this is one of my favourites. Is the this one's a sparkling natural dark grape juice made by Pithy, and they're available everywhere too. You can go online and find them, or just find them on Google, actually, on Pithy. So they are available everywhere too, but there are many other supermarkets now that stock non-alcoholic
And I must mention this one, there are a lot of different flavours in this.
Yes, there are
too. There's dark
too,
and light, and there's
muscatel, which is one of my
quite a
favourites.
variety,
Yes.
so that's a really good one.
Yes, lovely.
So what do we say, Connie, about all this?
We just say
no.